Hello and welcome, Desert Mountain members, to another edition of the Desert Mountain Podcast. My name is Michael Craven, joined today by Patrick McKenzie. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Michael. It's great to be here again.
It's great to be here with you, too. We are in the Performance Center.
Love it when we're here.
We do have an interesting backdrop here.
Yeah.
We have...
feel the breeze.
Looks like Torrey Pines, San Diego. There's a reason for that, though, and we will get to that reason here in a moment. But first, let's introduce our guest today. First and foremost, someone who's no stranger to the podcast or to Desert Mountain, Paxton O'Connor, the Director of Instruction.
Thank you so much. And I just want to clarify, I hope this isn't like 3 strikes and you're out.
No.
No. As it is the third, I think, appearance on the podcast. So thank you so much for highlighting not only our professionals, but our operation as well.
100%. And then brand new, first-timer to the podcast.
First-timer alert.
Yes. This is one of our favorite titles of anyone on the mountain.
Oh, this is a great title.
Master Club Fitter, Chris Heasley. Welcome, Chris.
Yes, thank you. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. I did say we were going to get back to why we have Torrey Pines as our backdrop. You gentlemen just returned back from San Diego. When did you get back?
Late Saturday night.
Okay, so
yes.
just a few days ago,
yes.
You were on a benchmarking trip, and I understand you visited quite a few of the big names in the industry, and saw the new things. I don't know how much you're going to be able to tell us today, or how much you're not, but I'm going to try to pull as much out of you as I can. Paxton, why don't you start? How did the trip go? What are your overall thoughts, takeaways from that trip?
Yeah, absolutely. And just want to thank all those who supported us. And again, the original intention behind this was to have our teammates here at Desert Mountain Club and at the Performance Center who are directly interacting and connecting with these leaders who are shifting the industry of club equipment. So we've visited the big 3, you call them. That is TaylorMade, Callaway, and Titleist. As well as we kind of stepped off at KBS headquarters as well, which was is a shaft company where we were able to ask insightful questions and gain a better understanding of where we are now and where are we headed in regards to the industry and in club equipment, as it's been challenging, similar to a dishwasher and other appliances. It's a real challenge to receive these goods.
Yeah, we've talked plenty about supply chain challenges and things like that, and I think we've talked here at Desert Mountain that we have pretty much been able to keep enough product here, which we've been really blessed and fortunate to have that. But yeah, I'm sure that things will happen here and there as we go down the line. Chris, what were your initial thoughts and reactions to the trip? And you deal with these brands every single day, obviously, and what did you think?
It was great to just get under the hood at some of these companies and really see what goes on behind the scenes and how they invest in different technologies and their research and development to build better and better golf clubs every year. It's really eye-opening to see things that closely to where it all happens. I think it's very rare to get an opportunity like that.
I was talking with Chris before we started the podcast, and I was like, how'd the trip go? And his eyes just lit up. And I'm like, probably saw some pretty cool stuff that you might want to bring to the mountain, huh?
That's right. Definitely.
He didn't quite tell me anything yet, so I don't know if...
Well, I heard that there were some NDAs that had to be signed, so
yeah, right.
I'm sure we can't quite get into specifics, but I am kind of curious to know, and our members might be curious to know too, like, can you give us any idea of just kind of their process? I mean, how the scale of these facilities and their testing and is it just massive? Like, is it eye opening when you see it?
Yeah, I'll expand. And look, there was 3 main points I wanted to share and can share as we did sign an NDA as we explored some of the R&D research labs and connected with these talented professionals. And that's where I want to start off first is, look, the professionals, the humans behind the innovation of these technologies of getting your driver to go 1 or 2 miles per hour more ball speed, which is equivalent to about 6-10 more yards of distance, is awesome.
Yeah.
Is I can buy a game. And so I try anyway. And but I would go back to the investment and the investment in their professionals at all levels. And we were so fortunate to meet with the CEOs, the directors of sales, and the director of the manufacturing and quality control. So we got to see every step of the way, from the innovation to walking through the manufacturing cells, in which they produced nearly 1,200 clubs per cell.
Yeah.
And they had roughly about 5 cells going. And you look at the performance, the assembly from the components being all placed together, the quality control. And then from there, taking it a step further in the sales and marketing and the sort of narrative that each region has its own story. Yeah. Where you may have a certain market have greater appeal from a kind of a technical standpoint and want to know some of these mechanics and technologies that are featured in the club. Whereas other markets may be more into the story of like purpose and like, hey, like this is going to get you feeling better. And, oh, look at these colors. Yeah. And so they were able to share with us some insights as to how different markets differ. And, some of the latest and greatest in the technology space. And look, one thing was evident I would share is that they are not short on producing heads. These OEMs are not short on producing heads. What they're short on is basically their reliance on shaft and grip companies to produce at a greater rate that they are producing at.
Sure.
And we're seeing and hearing that roughly 30 to 50% higher engagement with each of the brands. So not only are they challenged with supply of their material, raw material, but the demand of golf has increased significantly. So they're still trying to keep up.
Yeah.
And through those efforts, they are investing in expansion of facilities. I mean, TaylorMade's going to pretty much redo their entire headquarters. And they're expanding and opening up new warehouses around the country, around the world. And so it kind of applaud their efforts after such a challenging couple of years in production.
Yeah. Do they know who we are when you go there? Like, because I'm sure we get a lot of product. Were they happy to roll out the red carpet for us, for you?
I think that's what allowed us through some of the pearly gates and to meet
Desert Mountain this way,
and to meet with the industry leaders in each of those categories of R&D, sales, and so forth. And we met with Callaway's CEO Chip Brewer, which was extraordinary just to hear his thoughts and vision for Callaway and when it comes to on-course strategies, but also off-course. They've made a great deal of investments off the course as well, and lifestyle brands, and also this company called Topgolf is a major conversation starter for many when it comes to the evaluation of the company and where it's headed.
Are the clubs that you find at Topgolf? So those are probably Callaway clubs at this point, yeah. Do you go to Topgolf?
Absolutely.
Ben, are you the guy who brings your own clubs, or are you just using whatever they have there?
I use whatever they have there.
You don't want to be that guy?
I got to tell you, I've never hit a club better than I do when I'm at Topgolf. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
It's a treat. And what they've done to kind of redesign the experience of golf and gaining that interest in golf is huge. And what Callaway's done is extraordinary in that respect. But it was such a privilege for myself, Chris, and our team to have that experience, have that exposure, and connect with some amazing professionals in the industry. And like Chris said as well, to expand is like see every little detail that goes into getting that club into your hands and get you to be playing better.
Yeah,
ultimately.
One question I wanted to ask you, Chris, was a trip like this, seeing all the the latest and greatest, the new toys, if you will. How does that make you better at your job? Because I know especially members who see this podcast, they're probably going to be coming in and saying, yeah, NDA, but what do I need to, can you put me on to the latest and greatest thing? How does seeing all that and kind of knowing what's coming, how does that help you do your job better?
Sure. A lot of the companies now have several different drivers. For example, coming down the pipeline very soon is I've been legally allowed to mention this.
Okay.
The new Titleist drivers in fairway woods. We were able to not only get a chance to hit those on the driving range and really get an idea on what some of the differences are between the different models, but also a ground up explanation of what is different, what is better from these golf clubs, from the actual guys that are designing those golf clubs.
Wow.
So that really just helps to communicate that to the members that come in for fittings in a much easier way for me too. There's less of the game of telephone.
Sure.
I guess you could say. So that was great. And then also too, there's new Callaway wedges coming out, the raw Callaway wedges that are actually designed to rust. That rust produces more friction on the surface of the golf ball.
Wow. That's interesting.
To create more spin. Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
And then TaylorMade has some new hybrid irons at the top end of the iron set. So those were really, really interesting.
Cool. Anything you want to add to that, Paxton? What were some takeaways from you specifically? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I think I've shared in great detail, but it's I know there's certainly a lot of attention being placed on the demographic of women and juniors in the game of golf, and that was shared amongst all three of them.
Yeah,
and we're happy to see that because we feel like it's kind of been not as well represented. So we're excited truly to see that growth potential, as well as, like Chris shared, we had an amazing experience seeing the Titleist TSR driver in play in fairway metals, which are supposed to launch September 30th to the marketplace. So for us to be able to have that opportunity to test it out and kind of provide feedback on feel and speed and overall acoustics as well, was a privilege for us to be in the same room as the engineers and have them ask us what our opinions are. And that was shared amongst all the OEMs. And so for us just to be in the round table was a really neat experience.
Did they want to know, like, what are your members asking for, or that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that serves great value in that we have such a large demographic here that we can provide them with some valuable input as to, hey, we're seeing this request commonly, and then what do we do about the prices of club equipment as well as a whole?
Yeah.
And that's something we take to heart and take seriously here, and offering member pricing year-round for our members.
We do have the diversity here, for sure. Younger, older, a lot of guys, a lot of gals, juniors, you name it.
Good players, beginner golfers.
Yeah.
And the family atmosphere as well, going out there and playing from all the different tee boxes.
Yeah.
And we got to make sure we have the club equipment that performs well for you.
I couldn't say it better myself.
And just great programs and tournaments to go along with that as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Just to bring it back here, I guess, just to ask you, Chris, since we have you here for the first time, a lot of, anyone who's been in here and done a fitting, purchased clubs here, what have you, they know you. For members that haven't been in, maybe, or maybe they have their clubs that they got somewhere else and they haven't come in here to see you. What is the process? Can you just kind of take us through the process? I know one of the things that came up in our meeting this morning talking about this podcast was you'll even, correct me if I'm wrong, you'll have someone bring in their clubs, right? And you can kind of look at them and say, okay, here's why I think these aren't for you, or maybe they are. Maybe you don't need new clubs, or maybe that kind of thing. What's that process like when someone first comes to see you for the first time?
Sure. So we do prefer for the player to bring in their old equipment and it definitely serves as a great benchmark so that we can make sure the new golf clubs are improving the performance. Occasionally, there might be a scenario where an older driver somehow performs best, and I'm in a fortunate position where I'm able to honestly say to someone, it's okay. You do not have to buy a new driver. You should continue to play your current equipment.
You're not the guy at the auto shop who's trying to make you get a new alternator when you don't need one.
This here is a club.
So, but we basically do 90-minute driver fairway wood fittings. And then we like to try to do on a separate day, we'll like to try to do the iron and wedges fittings. And then there's also the ability for us to do what's called a gap analysis, where with a gap analysis, we take an existing set of golf clubs. It could be a new set that's just been purchased, or it could be an old set that you've played for a while, where you're just curious about knowing the carry distance and rollout of each one of those golf clubs in your bag. And if there's a problem in there, if we see too big of a gap between your pitching wedge and your gap wedge, we can adjust the lofts, or we can change the lies, or even so much as sometimes we might take an existing set and just discuss different grips that might be beneficial to to the player's preference and performance.
What about for somebody that is looking to start playing golf and they don't have their own set and they come in and want to get started?
Sure. So we definitely can walk through all of the options that are available. One of the things that's nice, in my bay, I have these 2 large big screen TVs where I have a few websites up as well as the TrackMan data, and we can literally go through whatever options might be available. And that might consist of a set of golf clubs that could be 5 golf clubs for that player to put in a small carry bag, and those 5 golf clubs might be just enough for that player to get around the course for the first year of playing. And then a year later, they may come back, and we might add 5 more to that set.
Wow.
So yeah, it's we really don't absolutely need a complete set of 14 golf clubs as a beginner golfer. Some people might prefer having those options that they might be able to grow into.
Sure.
But
I wish I would have known that.
yeah.
I'm just looking at this bag with all these clubs. I don't know which one to use.
Sure. Yep.
Does this fall into your realm? Like because you're obviously watching, a lot of swings. If you see a hitch in someone's swing, are you, kind of taking them down to another bay and saying, hey, you could work on that with one of these other teaching professionals, or are you kind of talking to them about that too? How does that work?
I stay pretty removed from changing people's golf swings.
Yeah.
And with that, the challenge there is if I do get involved in changing someone's golf swings, a lot of times the patterns that they create go out the window. And many of the decisions that I'm making related to the drivers that they're using, the loft, the directional patterns that they might create, a lot of the decisions I'm making are based on those patterns.
Sure.
So, and most players, even beginner golfers, are going to tend to have recognizable patterns. And there's been just a ton of research and development done to kind of give me a large set of guidelines so that I have a good idea on where to go. If I do happen to meet with someone that maybe is as tall as me, that's 6'6", that comes in, I'll know where to start with the length of their golf clubs. And we might try something a little longer, a little shorter, or we might also try something, a little bit different outside of those guidelines, especially if they might have questions related to details that they might be more sensitive to. So.
And to expand on that point and to share with you is that we fit the clubs to the swing. We're not trying to change your swing to match the clubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that recognition is powerful in that, hey, this is how you're currently moving and swinging the object. And it's best for us to be sort of direct and objective about the process and saying, hey, here's where you are. And here's the club that's going to provide you the best performance for where you are now. As, again, future progress is very dependent on you, the player, the golfer. As teaching professionals, we can provide guidelines and insights as to how to improve and improve quickly. But always best to have the clubs kind of fit your swing, not have your swing try and fit these clubs.
That's a good way to put it. Chris, I'm super happy that you brought up your height because you're 6'6", I'm 6'4", and I can tell you that I hit all my bag is Callaway. Everything in my bag is Callaway, and the clubs that I hit were not custom to my height. They were just a set that I didn't get a custom fitting. I've adjusted to it because I've had to, and maybe a lot of people are in that boat. But what would you say to someone who is either, maybe as like, for example, a male who's under, 5'10" or under 5'8" or over 6'2", 6'3", kind of on the ends of the spectrum? Would you definitely recommend that they get a custom fitting?
Most of the time, a custom fitting is going to be beneficial for every player that walks in.
Regardless.
Yeah. And, I think height tends to be the most easily observable, facet that you can, as you meet me, everyone always jokes about wow, you must have played basketball when you were younger. And I just, I recognize that that's an easily identifiable characteristic physically. So, it's not necessarily only beneficial if you're extremely tall or extremely short, or many players find benefit regardless of their physical stature. Everybody swings a little different. Everyone has their tendencies, and some players might require fitting or adjustments in their golf clubs a little bit more importantly than others. So.
Your golf clubs, are they a little longer too?
They are.
Yeah.
They are, yes. Yep.
Grip's a little bigger, club a little longer.
That's right. And, I think a great part of the club fitting process is really laying out to people what options we can change. And many of the changes that we can make are available at no additional charge. It's just a matter of us, contacting our companies and letting them know the specs on whatever set of golf clubs we're ordering, and they're able to piece together those golf clubs exactly the way we want them to be and have them sent out. So that I think is really just a great way to buy golf clubs now that there are so many options, even as you go to the different websites and you learn about all the different shafts that are available at no upcharge. It's got to be slightly daunting for the average player to learn about these options and know that what they're picking is going to be correct for their swing. And I think that puts me in a great position to just make sure that people are choosing the right parts in their set.
Yeah, walking into your bay, the whole wall is just it's endless options, So it's good to have you here to help us figure out what's best for our swings, for sure.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, that's great.
If I'm, I want to go see you. If I walk in here, I'm going, please just get me in there and let him direct me.
It's like a candy store,
Speaking of which, you've been here quite some time, Chris? Is it 10 years?
Just about 10 years, yes.
So that's deserving of congratulations right there.
Yes,
it's awesome. And then, maybe you take this with Paxton if you do know off the top of your head, just so he doesn't have to brag on himself. Was Chris recently rewarded with some type of a recognition?
Absolutely. So happy to share. Again, many of our partners, I'll share, our manufacturers have a criteria, some guidelines on to performance, as well as just connecting with our master club fitters and our facilities and awarding, most recently, I would share our distinguished Ping top facility and one of the very few private facilities in the country top fitters in America. So we're very pleased to have that recognition.
Congratulations, Chris.
That's great, Chris.
Thank you.
That's huge.
Congratulations.
So not only members do you get, the master of pros here, but he's being recognized on a national level. It's pretty sweet, pretty awesome.
So, Chris, if somebody's looking to start playing golf and maybe they're a little bit intimidated by it, what's the first step that they can take to come in and maybe get started on this journey?
Sure. We actually have a huge selection of demo golf clubs that we use to allow members to check out, similar to library books, where they can borrow these golf clubs for a short amount of time to take out on the driving range as well as on the golf course, and get an idea if there's visible improvement with those particular golf clubs. And that's something that can be done without the observation of a professional that's standing over their shoulders, critiquing their swing, critiquing their TrackMan numbers, kind of on their own time. I like that they wanted to go back to the back of the driving range at Outlaw where it's nice and quiet and they're by themselves. That would be a great, that's a great way to just get started in the introduction to buying new golf equipment.
It's just a good starting point where they can just go out on their own and get the feel of those clubs. They might like that style or that grip or that club brand, and start from there and come back and tell you guys how it felt. And
Yeah,
exactly.
Awesome.
because once they do get back, there will be options, right? And a lot of different components go into that, right, Paxton?
Absolutely. And again, the components can be overwhelming. We've spoken in length about the grip, the shaft, the different heads, and the performances gained with each and every one of them offers for the player, right? We have an incredible staff here, though. I want to take a moment to share that, look, we have these two incredible assistants who joined on this adventure with Chris and I.
Yeah, you two weren't the only ones in San Diego.
In Tucker Williams and Zach Capel. And look, we did explore the beach, and we had some eyes looking at us saying, look, is that a beach volleyball team? Is that the world-class beach volleyball team? We got Zach being our setter, and we got Chris and I and Tucker just kind of beaming out the volleyball with them. So
just picturing a slow-mo shot of you guys walking down the beach together.
Yeah. Top Gun-esque.
Yeah. It certainly was. And so it was incredibly valuable for them. However, they're well-equipped to answer any and all questions about club equipment, as that's their interest, that's their passion, and what they desire to grow into. And so any questions, again, when it goes to what kind of grip is best for me, shaft and head, they can answer a few of those. And if it entails greater depth, that's when we recommend club fitting with Chris. And look, the opportunity to compare side by side each and every manufacturer to a degree is incredible for the member. There's not a number of places that offer this. So, right. And to then be able to, let's say, hey, it's between these two and I'm still uncertain.
Yeah.
To have that resource or that availability to say, well, try it out on the performance arena, because ultimately that's what matters most is it performing out on the golf course?
Yes.
Are you driving hole number 10 on the Outlaw with this new driver? Or just inching a little bit closer to your target. And that's what we aim to help with, and the overall enjoyment and development of your game. And we've got a fantastic team to do so.
Two takeaways from what you just said. Number one, 100%. Everyone in this building is a professional in what they do. So
members can feel confident and comfortable to pretty much talk to anyone here.
So
what
that's
they're looking for. Yeah.
Good to know. By no means, even though we've touted Chris as much as we have as the master club fitter, everyone in this building is amazing. So no matter who you come to, everyone's going to know exactly what to do and what direction to put you in. Number two, you mentioned how rare it is to have this opportunity for our members right here on the mountain. I'm a member of a group on Facebook, actually. I think you're a member of it too, of just guys around the valley, guys and gals around the valley who play different courses, and it's just kind of a golf group. and a lot of the talk on there is, how do I find a good club fitter? And a lot of them are lost. They're like, oh, I went over here, just different places in the valley, retail shops basically. And there's like some frustration, it's hard to find somebody that you can trust. So the fact that we have this performance center right here, good gracious, it's really an awesome benefit for our membership.
Not only is everybody here knowledgeable and professional, I mean, everybody here is just great to get along with.
Yeah, that's true.
Just great people here, and that just goes that much further in expanding the member experience for sure.
I hope they found that in San Diego because, when you spend 4 days with your coworkers, I don't know if they started slapping each other in the backseat of the car or what was going on there.
We had some reruns of some Friday jams to get us going. I'll share with you that right off the coast.
Love it. Feeling good like I should.
Oh, man.
All right, gentlemen, I think that about wraps it up. We really appreciate your being with us and sharing your insight. And I know after this podcast, you will definitely have members coming in saying, all right, what were you not able to share on that podcast? I want to know what's going on. Since we are here and we are talking golf today, we have a hole-in-one to recognize.
Let's hear it.
So this was Steve Cardinal. He had a hole-in-one just a couple days ago at 7. And he actually on the first hole at 7.
Wow.
So congratulations, Mr. Cardinal.
On the first hole.
Yeah.
What a way.
What a way to start your round.
It's all downhill from there, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Congratulations.
All right. Well, you got anything else, Patrick?
I think I'm all set. I'm about ready to get a club fitting, though.
Yeah, me too. I hope you carved out some time here this afternoon for us, gentlemen. We forgot to tell you that comes along with being on the podcast.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much, members.
Appreciate it.
Until next time, we will see you around the mountain.
See you around the mountain.